Okay, start.
Okay, what I'm going to ask you to do is, can you see my screen? Oops, wrong. Can you see my screen, everyone? Yeah? See the chat. Okay, so I'm sharing this link with you. So what I want you to do is to enroll into our first study jam, create and manage cloud resources. And the code that, when you get this window, let me share with you the code as well. 1S-Dubai 1010-1010. Let me share another window just to have the same experience as what you are seeing. So, second. Enroll. I'll share another window here. Motor robots. So this study jam, we've got a few labs that you're going to be doing. So there is actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're not going to do them all here. So I'm going to run a couple of labs here together. And then you will have 1 month to be able to follow up with that. So what I ask you to do is, once you enroll into that, if you can start that first lab, let me just enroll into this on-demand quest. Let me sign in with a different email address here. And I'm going to tell you what to do in a second. Let me just log in with. Invalid. 1 second, sorry, just. Okay, let me use this instead. Okay. Okay, so the first lab that I want you to do is the very first one, a tour of Qwicklab, a tour of Qwicklabs and Google Cloud. I'm going to start this lab. It's not going to ask you for any credit. And the idea is to basically be running this lab for at least 5 minutes. So what we will be doing here is just telling you a bit of reading, a bit of kind of stuff that we, this bit about Qwicklabs here. And the idea here is just to access the console. And the idea is to run this lab in order to get those credits for the labs that comes afterwards. So is everybody here have accessed this? Any issues up to this point? Are we all good? Okay, excellent. So the idea here, what this Qwicklab is giving you, I'm sure you've probably you've done a session before. So with Qwicklabs is the platform where you do the Google Cloud Labs. So it's not a simulation environment. It is an environment where Google are giving you real cloud resources to do a set of tasks in those labs. So it is a real environment. So somebody is paying for those resources when they're running. So what I ask you to do is to open the console. Open it in a new tab. And here what you will be using for each lab, you will have a username and password. So the project that they're giving you here is for this particular user. Don't use your email that you logged into Qwicklabs with, or each lab has got its own credentials. And those credentials, this user here, that's what I'm going to give him for this lab, it has been given a set of permissions to be able to do this lab. So you've got this square here. If you just do copy, I've already got it there. So I'll go to next. I've got localization in there. And then I copy the password as well. Remember, we talked about the 5 pillars of cloud computing, and we said we'll be able to access cloud from wherever we want through some kind of a common standard mechanism. And this is the web console that Google are giving us to access the Google Cloud. So let me make this 100%. So we have a view of the console. So this is what we call dashboard. So the dashboard here, you will see your project info. This is a project that is provisioned for you. We identify it with 3 identifiers: the project name, project ID, and project number. So those kind of things, they identify the resources that you are using Google Cloud. Project name, notice here, and project ID, they are the same. This is from best practices. If I want to, I've got authorization to create projects, you will be able to choose this project name yourself, and the project ID will be given to you. Project number is something that you can't change. Project ID, you can select what project ID that you're going to create, but once it's created, you won't be able to change it afterwards. Project name, you can change it anytime you want. Project number is internal to Google. They will use it for their own resources. Other things that you get here is you get the dashboard for monitoring. You get some simple dashboard here, API requests. I can customize that, by the way. So I can go customize, and I can put any widget I want to do in any of those things. something very, very kind of useful by Google. They give you this, the Google Cloud Platform status. So here what Google are telling you, all the services are normal. If they have any issues in their platform, Google are known to be very transparent to their customers. So they will tell you of an issue happening. So let's say you've got some kind of problems in your project that you are working on. Later on, you created this awesome solution in Google Cloud, and you started seeing some issues, and you're not kind of particularly you haven't partially seen the problem. I think the first thing that I would look for first, just to make sure that it's not an issue with the platform, I go to this status dashboard. And in here, for example, they're telling us there are some issues in the past, in the last 7 days. So I can see here, for example, this the cloud developers tool had some kind of problems. But at the moment, at this particular of time, everything is green. So I've got no issues. But anything that happened in the past, Google will give you some service disruption that happened or service outage, and you can kind of go inside here and see exactly, they will tell you an update of when the issue started, what had happened, how did they do to resolve it, and things. So they keep you updated till the issue and what the action they have taken. So we'll keep you updated. So you've got this transparency, this visibility of what is happening. This is always useful to see, just to make sure that the issues that you are having is nothing to do with the platform. And then you've got monitoring here and things like that. The way I access resources in Google Cloud, there is two ways you can do that. So there is this hamburger sign here, and this I can see all the resources of Google Cloud, and I can go to any one of them: App Engine, Cloud Storage, Data Transfer, Database Services in here, Application Integration, Networking. So let's say I've got something, because there's so many here, and sometimes it's difficult to find a particular one. So let's say I'm working with data fusion, and this is my kind of, I'm a data scientist, I'm a data engineer, and I use data fusion so often. What I can do, I can pin it to the top, so I won't be basically scrolling up and down to find it. So it will be in the list here because I'm accessing it in there, or I can just go to this search, data fusion, and I can access it from there if I wanted to. So this is for the console. So in order to provision Google Cloud resources, I can use any of those. And in the labs, just follow the tasks that you are doing. I'm not going to enable data fusion. I'm going to tell you why in a second, why I wouldn't be doing that. So this is like the UI way to create Google Cloud resources. I can go to the hamburger sign here, and I can see all the resources, and I can access them all through here. The other way that you can access is what we call cloud, the SDK. The SDK is those tools that I can access from the command line, that I will be able, instead of doing clicking through the UI, I will be able to run command line commands in order to create Google Cloud resources, or in order to talk to cloud storage, or in order to talk to BigQuery, for example. And this is what we call the SDK, the Cloud SDK, and it is installed in the console by default. So I can activate it here. And when I activate, this is what we call activate Cloud Shell. So in some of the labs, you will see activate Cloud Shell. This is where you activate Cloud Shell, is this button here. And this, you can see here, provisioning your Google Cloud Shell machine, which means that Google Cloud are provisioning for me. They are creating for me a virtual machine with these tools in place, the G Cloud that we're going to be working with, or the GS util, if I want to access and provision storage resources, or BQ for BigQuery, if I want to interact with BigQuery, run queries on big data from command line, for example. So all those tools are here. So I can do G Cloud, and if I do nothing here, it will tell me I need to follow up with a resource that I need to provision. So in here, I can say AI platform, ML engine, and many other things. the compute engine, recommender, or whatever that might be. Let me exit from here. Okay. I can do BQ as well to access BigQuery. BQ, authorize it, because I'm calling an API, I'm calling BigQuery API, or I can do GSUtil as well for storage. Now, all those tools, if I decide, for example, to use them on my laptop, I can download that. So if I go to Google Cloud SDK, installing. So I've got the Linux version of that. I've got the Debian, Ubuntu, Red Hat, Windows, Mac OS. So I've got all those here I can download. So this is one way to do it. I can download it to my laptop, and then when I want to access GSUtil or anything like that, it will basically tell me to authorize, like you've seen in the Cloud Shell here when it says authorize. It will ask me for the project I need to interact with, and I'll authorize that as well. So this is the SDK. The other one that is really good to help you with this G-Cloud commands is what we call the interactive one. So with the interactive one, you can install it, and as you are running commands, it will tell you what should be the next bit in that command. So it's a super useful as well. The interactive way to use the Google Cloud command. Let me see, maybe I'm wrong here. So G-Cloud installer can be deployed. This is the interactive installation of that. Sorry, it's not that. What I'm looking for is 1 second. G-Cloud interactive. 1 second. Using G-Cloud interactive shell. Yeah, this is the installation, but the one that I was referring to is this one here. And this is, you will see something like this kind of green dashboard here. So when I run G-Cloud located, will give me what is in next command. So if I do G-Cloud, it will tell me I can use compute afterwards. I can use, so it will basically, in interactive way, describe what can be used afterwards in the command. So it will help you to do that. So that's very useful to learn the formatting of the commands as well. So if I go back to my lab, we want to run this for at least 5 minutes. So what I would like you to do is there isn't some basic information what we said how to interact with that. So start the lab, open the console. You will see those project ID and stuff and things. Sign in, use the username and password, and then you will see the console. And then here, test your understanding. Answer the following multiple choice questions to reinforce your understanding of the concepts. What field is not found in the left pane? So what is not found here? Open Google Cloud Console, password, project ID, system admin. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, which one is not here? If I put this 1, 2, and 3, and 4, if you put in the chat, which one is not there? Which one is not in the left corner here? Yeah, it's the system admin. So what you're gonna see in the labs when we do them is you've got this status update. So when you do this, you will see green. If you got it wrong, it's gonna be red, obviously. Username in the left pane, which resembles is a cloud IAM identity. We haven't talked about that, but but this is basically the user I'm going to use. So yes, this is the identity that I'm going to give access to. So we'll cover that in hopefully in future sessions. The way I'm going to see the project I'm going to be using is if I scroll here, the one that I was given is Qwicklabs. If I go all the project here, obviously we don't have access to any of the other ones, but the one that you will be accessing is the last one here with this ID. Usually when you are running labs, sometimes if I don't select anything here, I will start seeing some errors. Or if I select something else, I won't be able to do stuff. So I'll get an error message because that username and password that I was given, it was given access only to that project that I'm working on. Anything else I won't be able to access. It will throw up errors in there. Okay. What did I see here? On organizing entity not needed to Google Cloud. Multiple choice to enforce, you understand? An organizing entity for anything you build with Google Cloud. This is cloud projects. So this is where I build stuff. Okay. Qwicklabs resources is shared with all Qwicklabs users, which means you cannot delete or modify it. And in this case, obviously, we are working in the cloud. It's a shared environment. So yes, so it's you remember when we talked about the 5 pillars of cloud computing? So we have a pool of resources that everybody is sharing. I won't be able to go and delete that pool. Qwicklabs resource is the project where you run all your lab steps. Yeah, exactly. So this is where we're going to be. Oops. Qwicklabs resources is the project where you run all your lab steps. The steps I'm going to be running in my project, basically. So this is, maybe I didn't read the question, or I interpreted the question differently. So the Qwicklabs resources is the project where you run all your lab steps. I would run my lab steps in the project. Qwicklabs resources has got all the resources, not just for the project. And then this navigation menu, that I showed you, roles and permissions, IAM roles. Okay, let me cover a little bit about IAM. What is IAM? Identity and Access Management. It is super important. So if I go to my dashboard here, what you will see here is IAM, which is identity and access management. So in Google Cloud, what we have what we call a project. A project is the container that it has to exist in order to create my resources. And in Qwicklabs, when you start the lab, that project is already created for you, so you don't have to worry about that. Without it, you can't create any resources. Now, once you have the project, I can create VMs, I can create data sets in BigQuery, pretty much anything that is in this console. I can go and create a network, I can create clusters of Kubernetes. I can create serverless like App Engine I talked about yesterday. I can create an instance of that to deploy my code. And then when I create it, I need to give access to people with it. So the kind of users that I can give access to, anybody with a Gmail account, anybody with a Google Group account, which are basically Google Group will have an email address. Anybody who's using G Suite, what is called now Workspace. So it has to be a Google account of some sort, or a Google group of some sort. So once I have that, I can give them permissions to those services that are available in Google Cloud, and then they will be able to use them. So in our case here, our user that we are using is this student, whatever the reference. Each one is got its own different. So if I want to see what this user have been given access to, let me get rid of this shell first. So this user, for example, I'm giving a project to, it has been given, that's his name, it's been given an editor role and a viewer to the project. So you can see here it's so powerful. I will explain what are these roles are in a second. But this is the idea. I've got what we call identities or principles. And this principle, I give them some kind of permissions to resources in GCP. They will have editor role, viewer role, read only, read write, whatever that might be. So this is what we call a cloud IAM policy. So a policy is a binding between the user, a set of permissions that I'm going to give to that user to a particular task, and then applied to a resource in GCP. So these three items, who, which is the identity or the principle that I'm working on, can do what, which is a set of permissions that they will be doing on a particular resource, and then on which resource. And then could be a project, it could be a VM, it could be cloud storage bucket. So those three items is what we call an identity and access management policy, is the binding between these items. So the way I give access to my permissions is like this. If I go add, and in fact, let me see what I've got here. This is the students. See, I don't have permissions to do anything with this account, to give permissions to others. So you can see here. So what I can do, let me share my other screen. And please leave lab running, because you need to be running for a few minutes in order to give you those credits. But in the meantime, if I access my console, not from Qwicklabs, the one that I was for my company, I just want to show you Cloud IAM. Let me share again. There. So here, again, I'll go to IAM. So again, let me just recap a little bit here. In Google Cloud, in order to create any resources, we need to have a project. A project is like an abstraction, a container where I need to create any resource. Some of them that we talked about yesterday could be VMs, or it could be a platform as a service like App Engine when I deploy my code, or a hybrid like a Kubernetes cluster, or any serverless fully managed service in GCP. And once I create those in my project, I need to give access to my users in order to do whatever task I should be doing. And the way we do that, we said it's like a policy, a binding between who, which is a user or a group, can do what, a set of permissions, and then apply that to a particular resource into Google Cloud. And the way I do that is the user has to exist. I select my user or my group. I've got something like networking. What I have here on network. Yeah, this is a group called Quill Network Jellyfish. So this is basically a group of users that they work for a particular department. So I need to give them some sort of access to something. Let me say maybe, yeah, let's say it's a network resource. So, or before I do that, I need to give them access to a project level. So this is what we call basic roles. So these basic roles is basically giving access to all the projects. So whatever resource I've got in the project, I can say, okay, this group, give them read access to all the resources in this project. So it could be VMs, it could be storage, anything that is being created. So it's very, very broad. So they will have read only to everything. Or I can give them, say, okay, editor access to all my resources in the project. So this is kind of basic rules. They apply. My resource here at it's the level is the whole project as a whole. So I can give them editor access to so they can edit code, they can edit data, they can add data, they can deploy code into some of the resources in them. And then I've got owner. So the owner have full access to all the resources, similar to editor, but on top of that, they can give permissions to others as well. So these kind of roles, they apply at the project level to all the resources. So it's not something that you, if you are a company, to be using at in a production environment, because it's so powerful. It gives a lot of permissions that probably a user would not need to access. So if you have, for example, a database management team, you just want to give them access to deal with data, not anything else in your project. And then for that, what we have is, so these are the basic roles. We have what we call predefined roles. So the predefined roles, I can say, okay, for Cloud Bigtable, this group, give them just Bigtable reader, for example. So they all what they have is read access to Bigtable resource. So each resource has got its own predefined roles, and those kind of they've got a lot of permissions. So for example, if I check on this Cloud Bigtable, if I select, for example, administrator, so if I check the roles, just to see what kind of permissions this role has, I can just do a search. Table administrator. So this particular role has got 44 permissions. So this is this. If I give permission to someone, this is what they can do on Bigtable. They can do monitoring, they can update, they can read, they can list, they can apply policies, delete, create. So all those kind of permissions they have. So these are kind of what I can do with these roles and assign them at those resources. Any questions up to this point? Let me see before we move any further. Questions? So this is Cloud IAM. This is creating resources, giving access to them to my identities, either at project level or at the resource level with these predefined roles. Any questions at all? Time is flying. All right. So if I go back to our lab, let me share the other window just to go back here. So this is basically what they're saying here with roles and what I apply my permissions. Now in the console, obviously you are given some steps to follow. We're going to see that lab in a second. So just do the labs that you are the tasks they ask you. Don't try to, because here I can do anything with that role with those permissions. I can, if they ask you to create a VM, make sure that you create one VM, not two VMs. You've got capability to do that. If you try to create more resources, your account gets blocked. Sometimes we do make mistakes and choose the wrong settings from the lab, so automatically your account gets blocked, and you will see that you won't be able to do anything. In that case, if that happens, what you can go to is this question mark here. Go for the chat support. Enter your name, your email, and in here you do Qwicklabs General, should be fine. Yes, go just for Qwicklabs General and tell them that your account has been blocked, and somebody will be with you in a minute or so. They will unblock your account and they will tell you that you have been provisioning resources you shouldn't have been doing. So if I go back here, roles and permissions, as I said, answer the following multiple choice question to reinforce the understanding. Offers a quick access to the platform services and also outline its offering. So what is that from this option? Compute, navigation menu, cloud operations, or networking? Which option that gives us quick access to the services? 1, 2, 3, or 4, if we put them into that order. If you can tell me in the chat which option is right in here. Is it 3, cloud operations? Let me try. Wrong answer. Yeah, 2 is the navigation menu. So this is navigation menu. So this is where I can create resources. I can see and do that. So yes, good answer. So the navigation menu. This is where I go to create map. Primitive roles or basic roles that we've seen. Set project level permissions and unless otherwise specified, control access and management to all cloud services at the project level. Is that true or false? Yeah, absolutely. So if I apply those basic roles that we've seen, they will give you access to all the resources in a project. So yeah, well done, Ammar. Provides all viewer permissions plus permissions for actions that modify states such as changing existing resources. So which role that we've seen that allows us to do that? Is it the viewer role, or is it the Google Cloud project, or is it the editor role? That's correct. Editor role is the answer. API and services. This is where you want to basically create any use any resource. There is an API that you need to enable. So you've seen me, for example, using the data fusion. It will ask you to enable the API in order to be using those resources, and also obviously you would have to have access to that. So when you start a lab in Qwicklabs, you need to enable APIs for your project to start working with Google Cloud. In here. So yes. So in Qwicklabs, the tasks that you're getting to access, they're already enabled for us. So I don't have to enable anything unless if there is something like, for example, data fusion that you've seen me doing earlier. It's not part of that lab, so it won't be enabled. So in that case, it is false. So the APIs that are part of the lab, they are already enabled for us by Qwicklabs in that case. Cloud Shell, I've showed you where to execute that. It will give you the command line part of accessing the cloud resources and so on and so forth. So refer back to this lab, but when you end it now, if you end this, submit. Give it 5-star. So now, if you have let that lab run for more than 5 minutes, we should be able to, where is our, so we are doing, you already sign in, I know that. Let me just get my link again. This. Progress. Yeah, this one, creating and manage cloud resources. Obviously mine, I've already done those. So if you go to the second one, create a virtual machine. When you start the lab, what are you seeing? Do you see a message like mine, or are you allowed to log in? Mine, because I'm using another account here, it shouldn't ask you for any credits here. So if I, what you should be seeing, if I log out here, sign out, sign in with my other account, my Gmail. Uh, has anybody tried to start the lab? Anyone? That. Yeah, is it asking you for credits or is it okay? It asks. Okay, 1 second then. Let me sort this out. So if I start mine here, okay, give me a second. Okay. Share. Edit. Credit email. Second. Okay. Share 15. Can you share your email address? The ones, if you want the credit, can you put your email address in the chat window and I will add them to. Okay, let me see this. Okay, let me add those. Ammar, can you try now? Can you log out and log in again? See if you have access now. Let me. Is it still asking you for credits? Yeah, if you, let me just add all of them. And then what you will get to, it should have happened automatically, but just for the sake of time, I don't want to speak to support and say we have an issue. Things quicker. I'm sharing some credit with you. Did you log out and log in again from Qwicklabs? Okay, just give it 2 minutes or so. Anybody else? Can you try log out and log into Qwicklabs through the link and try to start the second lab, create virtual machines. Share. I've got 5 email addresses. Okay, I'm adding those as well. 1 second. Okay, maybe I should have put 50 here. I've got all the emails. Let me. Okay, 50. Okay, sorry, I didn't add the 50. So log out. Ammar, can you log out and log in again? I think you should be good now. Okay, excellent. So everybody who have added their emails, you should have now credits. So what I want you to do, go back to that lab, second lab, creating virtual machines. So let me go back to it. Is it Quest 120, something like that? Let me go back to that here. Yeah, it's this one here. So create virtual machines. So this is your first one. So the other thing that I didn't mention here is this time here, 40 minutes. Usually it's half the time. So if they tell you 40 minutes, that means you would be able to finish that lab in 20 minutes. So when you start it, okay, launch with 1 credit. Yours, you shouldn't ask you for anything. You already or if he asks you, you already have to use them. So here what we'll be doing is creating a virtual machine with Cloud Console. Then you're going to activate the shell, and you're going to use the gcloud command to create a virtual machine, and then you deploy a web server and connect connect it to a virtual machine. So simple, yet it's kind of your first steps into using Google Cloud. So again, when you start the lab, open the console, copy the username and the password. Project is already created for you, and then carefully follow the steps. So they ask you to activate the shell. I showed you where you activate the shell. This is where you activate it. It will open a window for you here. Obviously, mine is from my previous project, but that's what it does. It opens up. Which window I'm showing? Yeah, it's correct here. So it opened up the Cloud Shell here for you. And this is where you're going to be running some commands just to verify your session, to verify your project. Understanding regions and zones. This is what I mentioned, talked to you about it yesterday, and we said we have regions and zones. The regions are cities across the globe, and each region will have multiple data centers, which are the zones. So when you create a virtual machine, you would ask you to give it a name and then select a region for it and a zone for it, which basically is city and a zone. So here where you create that. So make sure that the values here are exactly what I tell you. So if it's the name is GCE Lab, the region is US Central 1. Make sure you scroll through the options to see that. So if I go to, for example, console here, let me use another one. Where is my authenticator? My phone is down. Okay. Let me go back here. 1 second, sorry. Okay, quickly. And that comes up. This is my console. This is what we're going to be doing. You're going to be doing compute engine instances. First of all, you're going to create a virtual machine with the Cloud Console. Why I do that is that you create. Give it a name. I think they told you GC Lab, something like that. So I can copy that. And they tell me US Central 1, US Central 1F. This is a region, a city, Iowa, one of the data centers. And then they're asking me to use N1, first generation, 2 vCPUs, and 10 gig of hard drive, Debian GNU Unix, that's the operating system. And then they ask me to allow HTTP traffic. And then I create that. Click create, and it will create for you. Any questions? Is everybody following up to this step? Are we all good? Any questions? Anybody having any errors, or they struggling with anything from the console? Okay. All good. Let me bring this maybe. Okay. So once you create it, so if I go back here, I can create this virtual machine. The following tabs are okay, because I'm not using the lab. My network is different. Let me go and correct that. So I can go and select a different network. If you refresh here, and then what they ask you to do next is to install Nginx web server. If I go to just to show you what they're asking us here. So they're asking us, that was next step is to install Nginx. So what I can do is SSH to this machine to log into it. And I'm just going to copy the commands to SSH to this VM. I'm going to run as root to start with. Can you see my... Oh, you can't see my VM. Okay. Let me share the entire screen. So here is my VM. I can just run as root and then use this. Don't try to use copy paste. Use the command so you're not missing anything from the lines they ask you to update. And then I install Nginx. Command they give me, and I'm just going to confirm that it's working. Should be seeing some Nginx web server running. And if I go to my VM now, if I go to this IP, I can see that my Nginx server is working in this case. And the next step, they're going to ask you to go to the Cloud Shell. And this is important. How do I know that I'm doing okay? Check progress. Obviously, mine is not showing because I'm not running the lab on Qwicklabs. I'm running it on my own environment. But you should be seeing this green and you should be seeing that score going up. And as you go along in Qwicklabs, you create those. As you complete the lab completely, you will see 100% of the lab that's been created. And you check your progress as you go along. And when you end the lab, this is one lab of the study job that is done. Now, this access, You should have it more than 30 days. I give you some credits for each one of you to be able to do that. If you run out of credits, meaning that I've got more users maybe joining the study jam afterwards, just reach out to me. I'll put you with an email address if you don't have any credits. I'll put more credits into that pot, so you will be able to practice more. Let me see. Any questions? Let me make this bigger. And then what you will be doing, you will have another lab to do. This one that we created here is a Linux machine. There is an equivalent of that to be using a Windows virtual machine that you can add DP to. There is another one for Cloud Shell, G Cloud. So you'll be working more with the G Cloud and the Cloud Shell, creating a Kubernetes engine, setting up a load balancer. By all means, we can have another session talking about GKE, load balancers, and things. But it's not going to stop you doing those labs, because these labs are very, very well documented. So even though we talked about them briefly, but here they'll give you an overview what load balancers are, what is a network load balancer, what is HTTP load balancer. It's very important to read through the content of the lab and maybe do copy and paste in your notes document as the revision points, and do those labs as you go along. Super useful. Okay, so this is the idea of the study jam and the labs that is associated with it. So as you've noticed that these labs, they give you the task, but the very last one that you see here, there's is there a challenge one here? Let me see. I thought there was a challenge lab somewhere. Yeah, a challenge lab. So this one here, let me see. And the challenge lab is different. The challenge lab will be basically telling you, we want you to be tested on these topics. Create an instance, create a 3-node GKE cluster, create an HTTP load balancer. But here, they don't give you the steps like the labs. They expect you to probably just give you the names of the server or the type of virtual machine that you can create, but they don't give you the steps. You need to refer back to the labs that you've done before. So they ask you to do it from your practice that you've done. And then once you do that, you have basically completed successfully this challenge, and you will receive what we call a skill badge. You will get with your name that you have completed, create and manage cloud resources. You can put it on your Twitter account, on your LinkedIn account, Facebook account. That's basically part of your profile. You are now started and finished one skill badge of the Qwicklabs infrastructure modernization. Let me go back here, see if there is any questions. Yeah, I'm really sorry. The screen is small, but what I'm saying here, maybe I need to make this bigger. Sorry about that. So what my last point that I was saying is this challenge lab is different than the other ones, in a sense that if you look here, there is no tasks to continue to be to follow. So all the previous labs, they give you the tasks to do, but here they give you in your challenge, they will ask you to do something, and you have to do the steps yourself from the experience that you gained from the labs that you've done in the previous labs in this particular study jam or skill badge. And when you finish at the end, you will get this skill badge as part of, meaning you've completed this successfully. You are now proficient in creating cloud resources and managing them. And all the other study jams will be basically another skill badge. They are really, really important in your career in Google Cloud. Okay, let me share. Okay, let me share the sorry. Stop representing share. Maybe a tab in that case. What is this one? Create and manage. See which one I'm showing. Wrong one. 1 second. Yeah, that's it. So if I go back to this, like I said, is this okay now? Is this big enough? This? Yeah, no worries. Okay, so here we've got, like I said, a set of labs. So all those labs that you're going to be doing, each lab, like I said, it's got its own username and password. When you open the console, each one has got a different one. And all those labs, they're very, very well documented. You will have an overview of what the service that you are creating. Like I said, read carefully what is in there, copy and paste those kind of information in your own notes documents as your kind of learning journey. So there is here we've done one with the Linux. You're gonna do one with Windows. There is another lab to work with the Cloud Shell and the G Cloud commands as well, and then creating Kubernetes cluster load balancers. So here, if I open the Kubernetes engine one, for example, it will tell you an overview of what is GKE, what is Kubernetes, this kind of thing. Super important, this kind of stuff. So I can basically copy and paste in my own notes documents to give you an idea what I'm doing in Google Cloud in this case. So really, really good summary in there. And then you start working with the lab, creating your cluster and so on and so forth. So the same thing, you will have a username password for each one of them. And then the tasks they give you for all the tasks they're going to be doing, the steps are given there for you. And the very last one is part of this study jam. You will do what is called a challenge lab. And basically what you will be doing, they will tell you, we want you to do this particular thing. We want you to create a VM. We want you to create a Kubernetes cluster, but I don't give you the steps as part of your learning. So you already done the steps, you've seen the labs, now you do it on your own. There is nothing stopping you going back and checking the other labs. There's nothing wrong with that. But the idea is when you finish this challenge lab, you do get this at the end, this badge that you are completed this this study jam or this skill badge track successfully. Okay, so you should have the credits. If anybody hasn't got the credits, reach out to your student group lead with your email. I will add you to give you some credits to do the labs as we go along. Is there any questions? You don't have to do all the labs today, so start slowly, do one lab a day or something like that. Take notes. If you have any questions, again, reach out. If you need more sessions, I'm already, it will be a pleasure to run more sessions on Google Cloud. If you need me, reach out. We can arrange more sessions in the future as well. Otherwise, thank you so much for having me, and happy learning. Keep going. You're doing really well. Keep up the good work, and inshallah, we will see you in future sessions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
You're very welcome. Very welcome. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Assalamu alaikum. All the best.